Hello, welcome back to the most incredible part of the internet, Marvelous Videos, where today we're talking about the blood-sucking creatures of the night, the vampires. Vampires have their origins in folklore, but have been popularized by modern fictional works like Interview with a Vampire, Dracula, Nosferatu, and Twilight. We'll get into all the juicy details about the food habits of various vampires and the effects different types of blood have on these nightwalkers. We do have a small task for you. Make sure you subscribe to this wonderful channel and also have turned on notifications to never miss an update from us. All done? Let's begin. Human blood. The most common food required for the survival of vampires is human blood. Many vampires, like Count Dracula, the titular role in Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, and the vampires seen in folklore all depend on human blood for their sustenance and cannot feed on anything else. Supernatural investigators believe human blood is the most potent out of all other animal blood and helps them maintain their supernatural strength. Some lore also says that the rarest type of blood, AB negative, is considered wine among vampires as it gets them drunk. Also, the blood of children is believed to be poisonous to vampires, the child's innocence being lethal to the creatures. Common belief states that vampires need to feed on living and healthy humans to stay healthy, and the more diseased they are, the weaker the vampires become. Stephen King, the king of horror, changed the last rule a bit for his vampires that live in Salem's Lot and the Dark Tower series. They can feed on humans with diseases that spread through the blood and are not affected by them, but this immunity only works in their favor, and the virus that causes the disease hides in their system. When the vampires move on to feed on other humans, they get infected with the disease. In King's stories, because of this weird immunity, vampires played a major role in the AIDS epidemic, as most of them were carriers of the HIV virus. King's vampires also primarily feed on human blood. Grandfather vampires, the oldest of the vampires that were born out of the primordial chaos, Prim, have the ability to look younger through blood consumption. Eric Kripke's show Supernatural, which ran for 13 seasons, introduced its audiences to a whole lot of creatures of the unknown dark world. Vampires too were included in this show's run, and they prefer human blood, although they can drink blood from other animals. Vampires don't need to feed off the bodies of humans though, and can also drink from blood bags. They're primed to hunt humans with a nose that can track down human blood, fangs that can break open a neck, and ears that hear human heartbeats. They can also remember a human from their scent. The only way to stay undetected from a vampire's nose is by applying a scent-blocking mixture made by burning saffron and trillium with skunk cabbage. By dusting ashes on your clothes or your body, the vampires will be unable to smell you. Blood from a dead man's body briefly weakens vampires. If you can consume the corn syrup made by the primordial monsters Leviathans, who created it to dumb down humans, your blood will be tainted with the corn syrup and become poisonous to humans. This special type of blood has been referred to as Vamptonite in the series. Another hugely popular vampire franchise was Twilight, started by the fantasy romance novels written by Stephen Meyer. These vampires have a major preference for human blood, as it is superior in taste and the strength it gives to its consumer, and vampires find it very hard to resist. If vampires have taken to feeding on animals and they're exposed to human blood, they're caught up in a frenzy and will lose control, giving in to its temptation. Human blood doesn't taste one and the same, and each person has their own scent and taste. There are some particular humans whose taste extremely appeals only to one vampire. Like Bella's blood drew out the appetite of Edward Cullen. The Volturi, the most powerful coven of vampires, call this La Tua Cantante, which translates to your singer, as the blood sings to only one vampire. The color of a vampire's eyes depends on their diet, and if a vampire's primary diet is human blood, they will have red-colored eyes. If a vampire fed recently, their eyes appear bright and shiny. In The Vampire Diaries, the CW show developed by Kevin Williamson and Julie Plec, based on the book series of the same name by L.J. Smith, human blood is a rite of passage for all vampires. If a human dies with the blood of a vampire in their body, they need to drink human blood to completely turn into a vampire. If they refuse to succumb to the bloodthirst, they will die within 24 hours of awakening. Many vampires in the TVD universe prefer drinking donated and frozen blood as an ethical means of consumption. In the initial days of being a vampire, the bloodthirst is so ravenous that some vampires feed on a human till no drop of blood is left in them, causing their death. However, it's not necessary to survive, and exercising self-control helps vampires to not kill their prey while feeding. Vampires feeding on human blood are way stronger than those living on animal blood. Vampires cannot completely swear off human blood though, as it is the key to their humanity. If humans recently consumed alcohol or drugs, vampires feel a chemical aftertaste by consuming their blood, and if they consume consume vervain, the vampires will be burnt by the blood. The cure, which turns vampires back into humans, will completely convert a human's bloodstream into the cure if consumed. Once turned back to humans, they will have to regularly ingest the cure, or their age will catch up to them. In the Witcher fandom, the vampires don't need human blood to survive, but drink it for recreation. What alcohol is to humans, human blood is to these vampires. If a human has recently consumed the Black Blood potion, his blood will become poisonous to whoever drinks it. And Frank's The Vampire Chronicles, which was adapted into movies and series under the title Interview with the Vampire, states that human blood becomes vampire blood as soon as it enters the vampire's body. A dead human's blood to these vampires is not poisonous, but it tastes disgusting. Animal blood. Generally, animal blood is considered inferior to human blood, and most vampires will opt out of drinking it, as it does not give them the power and delight that human blood does. In the Twilight universe, the vampires who only feed on animal blood are called vegetarians, and there are only 2 known covens who actively avoid human blood. Vegetarian vampires can be easily identified by the color of their eyes. They are yellow or amber. Although human blood makes vampires stronger, it's only a tad bit, and a vegetarian vampire can make up for it by hunting predatory and strong animals like bears and mountain lions, and avoiding the meek and frail animals like deer and rabbit. The theme of vegetarian vampires being weaker continues in the Vampire Diaries too, as they heal slower, along with being definite losers in a fight against those vampires that feed on humans. Vampires in Supernatural and Vampire Chronicles aren't weaker, but they aren't super thrilled about having to consume animal blood, as most of it isn't very tasty. Folklore and popular myths make no mention of vampires living off of animal blood, and even the Witcher franchise ignores explaining whether vampires ever decide to try a different life form. Vampire blood. Drinking a stronger and older vampire's blood helps the vampires gain more strength and powers in the Vampire Chronicles. Their appearance also changes, and they become more perfected, with their skin taking on a polished marble look. Vampire blood has great healing properties, so if anyone, vampire or human, needs their wounds healed quickly, all they need to do is take a sip out of a vampire. Vampire blood also plays a crucial role in the transformation process in the Vampire Diaries. If a human has vampire blood in their system when they die, they cheat death and awaken as a vampire. Like in the Vampire Chronicles, these vampires possess rapid healing abilities. The blood is even described as having a smooth aftertaste. Unfortunately, the only thing vampire blood cannot cure is cancer. Some lore suggests that when one vampire feeds from another, it creates an unbreakable bond. It's also believed that a vampire can survive on their own blood for a short period of time. Most other fandoms don't explore the idea of vampires feeding on fellow vampires, because it feels a bit like cannibalism. Honestly, we don't blame the creators for steering clear of it. Other supernatural beings. Myths say that if vampires feed on other supernatural beings like werecats or mermaids, they temporarily take on the traits of those creatures. However, if vampires consume the blood of angels in their human form, or any other divine entity, they die instantly. A unicorn's blood acts as a magical elixir for vampires, making them invincible. The opposite is true for the blood of manticores and chupacabras, as it causes vampires to lose their intelligence and become more animalistic. This kind of lore finds no place in the Vampire Diaries, where the blood of werewolves does not transform vampires into werewolves. In fact, werewolves can be turned into vampires just like humans. If a vampire feeds on a werewolf in their human form, the blood functions like any regular human blood and has no special effects. Witches face a similar fate. Their blood isn't unique and can't protect them from a vampire's hunger. Twilight avoids the topic of how other supernatural beings' blood affects vampires, likely because the only other supernatural presence is the werewolves, and the two species are too busy feuding to even consider drinking each other's blood. Similarly, Supernatural and the Vampire Diaries don't explore these ideas either. Marvelous verdict. Clearly, human blood is the superior and tastier option available on the menu that life, or should we say undeath, dealt to the vampires. Do you think there are any other sources of nutrition available to vampires? There have been theories that vegan vampires exist and they can feed on coconut water, as it is identical to human plasma, a primary component of blood, and can be directly injected into the human bloodstream. Stephen King has also opened up the world of vampires that feed on emotions and steam, the life force of children blessed with powers. Do you think there are more unknown options out there? What would you eat or drink as a vampire? Do let us know in the comments. See you soon. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.